David Daniel Ducker here, and today I wrote In the Court of the Dragon Queen, Draft 2. Already did a video on Draft 1 when I wrote Draft 1. Now we're doing Draft 2. So this has basically been a full rewrite of that chapter. In Draft 1, it was more like a scene, and now it's more like a chapter. It's been expanded. So in Draft 1, we have Iade and Cleonike coming into the capital of Lemuria, the sky full of dragons over this weird Egyptian-style city with pyramids. And they go in, and they meet Jamila in the antechamber of the queen's throne room. They have a brief conversation with her, then they meet the queen. They tell her about the events that have happened in the story so far, and the queen sends them to Mu as her official ambassador to the Naacal, the people of Mu. So that was Draft 1. Draft 2 here, very similar. We're achieving the same goals. We're just adding layers, which is how I like to write. So instead of meeting Jamila in the antechamber, we're meeting her in the sky as they fly into the city. She's on her dragon. Cleonike and Iade are on their dragons, and we meet in the sky. We establish that Jamila and Iade already have a rapport with each other. They come into the castle together, and then Jamila sees Cleonike's face, because in Draft 2, it is Cleonike who's been disfigured, not Iade. So Jamila is this very young, naive character in many ways, and she's like shocked by this injury, this disfigurement, and she tries not to show it because she is a little sensitive. She knows not to make Cleonike feel self-conscious, but Cleonike, of course, notices that Jamila has had this reaction. So that gives us some insight into Cleonike's thought process. And Cleonike already doesn't like Jamila. Draft 2, we're turning up the like for Iade. Iade likes Jamila more in Draft 2 than she did in Draft 1. Cleonike's going the other way. Cleonike dislikes Jamila more in Draft 2. And it's not because of Jamila's personality, it is because of Jamila's race. Because we're stressing the racism in this culture and in this story. Cleonike's journey is going to be from someone who's very racist in Act 1 to someone who realizes that everyone is equal in Act 3. So that's one of Cleonike's story arcs, is her growing as a person, is she becomes less racist. So we have to start then by showing her as a racist in Act 1. So that's what we're doing. She sees Jamila, she doesn't like her because of her race, rejects her, has all these internal thoughts about Jamila's race and such. She doesn't say them out loud. She is somewhat civil. She's not particularly polite, but she's somewhat civil to Jamila. Mainly out of respect to Iade, probably, because Iade's not racist at all. Iade's in a culture that's racist, but she is actually not racist, which makes her kind of an oddball, and a lot of the other characters are like, oh, why are you not racist? What's wrong with you? But anyways, we establish this relationship here, more pathos, and then they come into the antechamber. And now I've added a character, Cassandra, and this character is a lover of Cleonike. They've had a physical relationship before, and Cassandra sees Cleonike's face that's just destroyed, and she's upset and just caught unaware, and kind of runs over to Cleonike and is saying like, oh my god, what happened to you, your poor face. And she's so upset that her lover has been disfigured for selfish and selfless reasons. But of course, this is so embarrassing. This is like a public place at the royal court. All of the courtiers are watching, and it's this kind of a big scene. So Cleonike is so embarrassed and so ashamed, and she's already dealing with all these self-esteem issues, and now to see that her lover is upset that she's become ugly, to see everyone watching her and all the attention's being called to her face and her scars. We get a lot of pathos out of that. And so she kind of tells Cassandra, like, stop making a scene. And they have like a brief argument. It's not an argument, but it's kind of the subtext of an argument, because they don't want to have an argument in public. But they exchange a few words, select words, and then Cassandra leaves. Cassandra's actually going to get the Dragon Queen so they can have this meeting. So she has an excuse to leave. She's leaving to go get the Dragon Queen for them. And it's Iode who kind of comes in and saves Cleonike from this embarrassment and shoos Cassandra off with this mission. And then Iode pulls Cleonike to the side and is saying, like, you know, it'll be okay. I know that was embarrassing. You're upset. But she'll get used to it, and everyone will get used to it. And it doesn't really change anything. So Iode is being a very good friend. She's emotionally mature and aware. And Cleonike just isn't there. She can hear this good advice, but she can't take it in. She still has that doubt. She's like, what if I can't fight with one eye? And I lose my status as a warrior. And you know, she's definitely lost her status as a beautiful woman. In her mind, she has, because half of her face is just destroyed. She has half of a beautiful face, but the other half is gone. And this is a huge change. It's a change in how other people look at her, and it's a change in how she looks at herself. So we're showing that to the audience through the character of Cassandra here. That's the reason to add this in. And then, of course, they meet the Dragon Queen, and the Dragon Queen hears their report and says, yep, that sounds like a huge crisis. Let's send you to Mu as my ambassadors. So I rewrote that. It's actually, that part of the chapter is probably smaller now, but it's way better. It was terrible in the first draft. So we've got more of an idea who Skylea is, the Dragon Queen, and more of an idea where we're going with the storyline. So it's just easier to write in draft 2 for many reasons. And then Jamila steps forward and says, I have journeyed in that direction, and I can be their guide to Mu. Nobody else has been that way. It's so far from our queendom that they could get lost. They don't know the dangers. They don't know the threats. They have to cross this desert. I know the oases. I know where there's water in the desert. So let me go with them. I can help them. And Skylea says, okay, sure, yes. Cleonike, Iode, take Jamila with you. And then they leave the throne room. Cleonike is very mad with Jamila because she hates Jamila because of her race. And so she kind of confronts Jamila and says, you know, you better know what you're talking about, because I don't want you on this mission. So you better prove yourself useful. And then Cleonike, being just emotionally exhausted at this point, you know, she's met the queen, she's seen her former lover, she's had to deal now with Jamila and her shenanigans. So Cleonike goes off to her room. She's going to just turn in early, go to bed, go to sleep. And as she arrives in her room, Cassandra is already there to apologize and say, I'm sorry that I embarrassed you and I reacted that way in front of everyone. I was just upset about your face. And I know how hard that has to be for you. So Cassandra's trying to make good. But Cleonike, in her mind, she knows Cassandra. And Cassandra's very vain. And Cleonike doesn't believe that Cassandra can accept her the way she looks now. So Cleo Knight kind of rejects her and rejects her apology to some degree and says like, this was going to be over anyway. You know, we were getting too close, and I know you don't want to be with someone who looks like this, so you just leave and it's over. And then Cassandra leaves. She doesn't argue because Cassandra is vain and she won't want to be with someone like that. And that's a harsh truth that Cleo Knight is facing. So again, this is part of her story. In order for her to make a comeback in Act 3, we have to beat her down in Act 1 emotionally. So she's lost her looks, and now she's losing her relationships because of that. You know, really, it's at least partially because Cassandra's a shitty person, but in Cleo Knight's mind, that's not the way it is. Not entirely. And in Act 3, she'll learn this better as she finds a lover who's able to accept her for the way she looks. So in Act 3, she'll have this triumph, but first we need the tragedy and the heat on her in Act 1. I'll also mention that like part of their relationship is illicit because the dragon riders, the way I'm envisioning it now in Draft 2 is that they're allowed to have like a sexual relationship between the different dragon riders, a homosexual relationship, but they're not allowed to have a homosexual romance. They're not allowed to be homoromantic. So it's this kind of taboo that like it's okay to sleep together, but don't catch feelings because you can't marry each other. You can't be together really long term. So it has to be this casual, flirtatious, physical relationship in their culture. That's the way I have it in Draft 2. Maybe that will change. It's a very minor aspect. I just wanted to throw it in there for some inclusion. And just again to push home that this is an alien world. This is not modern Western culture. This is not ancient Western culture. This is a totally different world with its own cultural norms. So I'm just trying to push that. I like the flavor. I like the style of this alien world, this alien culture. So there's several reasons to include that tidbit, a little tidbit. So that is Draft 2 of the Court of the Dragon Queen. And hopefully I will come back to you with the Ruins of Irem Draft 2 in my next video. So look out for that. I'm going to try to rewrite it probably tomorrow. Let me know in the comments, what did you write today? Are you on Draft 2? Are you on Draft 1? How is it going? Do a video response. I would love to hear it. And until I see you again, it's David Daniel Ducker signing off.